Hello and welcome back to the Villa podcast. Again, it's another solo episode. These are becoming all the more common nowadays. But as I'm not at the game today, I'm here to give you an on-the-minute reaction to Villa's 1-0 win over Crystal Palace at home. The final whistle has just gone in B6, giving Villa back-to-back wins and Unai Emery's first win ever as a manager over the Eagles. It's a good weekend all round so far for the Villa because not only have we picked up an absolutely massive 3 points, but Aaron Ramsey got 2 goals for Borough today. Jen Philogene Bidace scored for Cardiff as well, and Louis Barry's Salford got a big win at Newport County today, and I only know that because it is currently happening just down the road. So yeah, all things considered, a pretty great weekend. And having seen Arsenal just win in the 97th minute, Bournemouth join us, and it spares us blushes as we're not the only team to concede a 97th minute goal to Arsenal so far this season. So all things considered, it's a pretty good afternoon. Another weird game though. I felt another weird game, and I'm not trying to put damper on things because I will, we'll get onto all the positive stuff very soon. But it felt a little bit sloppy from both teams. Crystal Palace are really in a bit of a funk right now. Obviously, they haven't won a game this year, and this game was really big for them because Wolf came back after a long layoff. Wilfried Zaha was back in the starting lineup, and didn't we know it? He had the ball in the back of Emi Martinez's net after just 4 minutes, when thankfully VAR came to our rescue. It feels like it's done that a little bit recently, saving Villa's blushes. Means that we went on and slowly grew into the game. But Villa do have a habit for looking a little bit shaky early on, and which surprises me because before the win at Goodison, we were on the back of 3 consecutive defeats, none of which we played particularly well in. We know what happens if we start to slow down, take our foot off the gas. I mean, look at that Leicester game. And that just goes to show that we can never get complacent in this league. And it never feels like we come flying out the traps. Always feel like we're a little bit wobbly early on. And Wilf took advantage of that. It's a close decision. He's just past Ezri Konsa, who's the defender, I think, closest to the goal, just straying offside. It's a real close one. It's one that, a few years ago, pre-VAR, definitely would have said there's no way you can see that with the naked eye. But it's ruled offside, which just about sums up Crystal Palace's and Patrick Vieira's luck right now. But, if you are trying to take consolations, if you're a Palace fan, then that is it. It's that Wilfried Zaha is back, and all things considered, considering it is his first game back after a pretty lengthy injury, I thought he looked quite good and he was always a threat. But all things considered, I think we managed it quite well. The first half, obviously, we're going 1-0 up. It's only fair that we talk about the goal, really. The ball goes down the right-hand side with Matty Cash, who scored man of the match for Aston Villa today. His match rating was higher than anybody else in Claret and Blue. I think that assist technically will have given him that, because I don't really feel like there was a standout player today. I thought Boubacar Kamara was excellent, and until he gets taken off, and we'll talk about those 2 challenges from Doucouré and the red card that followed in a short while. But yeah, just to talk about the goal, we work it really nicely, and that's what I will say. And look, we know that Matty Cash's delivery is not the best. It's not, compared to other right backs in the league, and the delivery that you can get from those guys, it's not quite up to par, and it's not a great ball. But I actually think the reason why it ends up going in, the reason why Anderson ends up turning it past Gaeta, is because it's not a great ball, because it's sort of behind him, and it's never going to get through to Wally Watkins. He feels the need to deal with it, and because it's that, when you're running back towards your own goal, your body, the momentum is taking you that way. You have this ball that's played in just behind you. You feel the need to deal with it, obviously, because he knows that Watkins is just behind him. Who's come off the back of an amazing run of 5 goals in 5 games, no less. He tries to deal with it. The legs getting a mess. As I said, his momentum, all of his body weight is taking him towards his own goal. He gets himself in a right muddle, and Gaeta has no chance. And it's one where, yeah, I think for the first time we've actually probably benefited from what is not a great delivery from Matty Cash. Had the ball been in front of Anderson, if it's not going to get through to Watkins, then, he can easily use his left foot to put that back out where it came from. But I think it is because it's coming in just slightly behind him that it gives Villa the opening goal. And we really needed that. We really needed that, because we weren't playing particularly well. I didn't think. There is a sense that we need to win these games. This run of games is so important. And when we got off on that good start, we never really looked back, really. And whilst it was never very comfortable as we went into the second half, we made some changes, and Unai, he hasn't got an abundance of great players on that bench yet again. We're looking at a couple of goalkeepers down there on the bench, but just looking at the notes I've made in the game, obviously Leon didn't start in this game, and that's something I actually said at the end of the last game where I felt like he could use a spell out of the team. I think coming off the bench allows him to come on and read the game from the bench, get an assessment of the tempo, the kind of player that he'll be going up against on each flank, because we know he has the ability to swap sides, gauge how his teammates are getting on against them, and then come on with a boost of energy. And hopefully, in one of these substitute appearances, he'll get that goal or assist that can reignite his confidence. But he doesn't come on, and look, he almost got an assist for John McGinn. John McGinn has that chance around the 70-minute mark. Bailey cuts it back just in front of the Holte end to McGinn, who's about sort of 8 yards out or something like that. And I think it's saved by Gieser, or it's blocked. And that could have been the all-important goal for Villa. But it's Bailey that creates that. And look, it's these fine margins. And we saw it in the first half as well with Watkins. He gets put through with a brilliant ball outside the boot from Buendia that falls into his path so nicely. And you think with the form that he's in, it's a surefire goal, and somehow he puts it wide of the post. And that would have been Emi Buendia's first Premier League assist of the season, which is pretty nuts to think that, considering he scored just last weekend, that he hasn't registered an assist yet. But it would have capped up a great week personally for Buendia, who's obviously back in the Argentina squad. But just going back to Leon Bailey, he has this moment in the game which I think just sums him up perfectly, because at no point in Leon Bailey's Villa career has anybody said that he doesn't try, the effort's not there, he's not working hard, he doesn't want it or anything like that. Because there's this quite incredible moment where he tracks back and he makes this brilliant challenge inside our own area. Everyone gets up in the Trinity Road and the North Stand to applaud it. It's really good defensive work. He takes it out to the touchline with a really nice touch and then attempts to pass it up the line, and it just goes straight back into Will Hughes. And before we know it, the ball is back in behind Bailey, who's just went back inside our own penalty area. And there are just these moments with Leon Bailey where you feel like he takes one step forward, sometimes a big step forward, and then 2 steps back straight afterwards. And I did feel for him a little bit as we were really pushing for that second goal. It's about now, I think we should talk about the 2 challenges from Doucouré that resulted in his red card. And obviously the one of them is particularly significant because it's meant that Boubacar Kamara, who again I thought was sensational today, it's almost not worth saying anymore, is it, that Boubacar Kamara was sensational? These performances are so consistent, so brilliant. There's this challenge that sort of comes in from behind from Doucouré, and it's one where there's no studs involved. It's not a desperate lunge. It's not, when you look at it, it's not warranting of a red card, certainly. But Kamara's ankle just kind of gets caught up in it, and there's an ankle where you see the challenge sort of head on, and you can see the way that Kamara's ankle gets trapped underneath Doucouré's legs, and then as they hit the deck, his ankle sort of twists in a nasty way, and he's helped off straight down this tunnel by our medical staff. So we can only hope that we get a speedy recovery out of Boubacar Kamara, and we have him back as soon as possible, because boy oh boy, would he be a big miss. And by the time that this podcast is out, there'll probably a bit more news on that situation, and we'll obviously keep you updated on our Twitter feeds and everything like that with how that comes out. But on the whistle, didn't look great, but we just got to hope that it's not a bad one. Obviously, Doucouré, I think rightly, gets a yellow card for that. Maybe it's one of those classic orange card tackles that's between the two. But Callum Chambers comes on for Kamara, which is an interesting substitution in itself, because obviously putting Chambers into that DM spot, which not long ago, perhaps even as recently as last season, people were wanting to see a bit of Callum Chambers in DM, because he has got a past in playing in that position. He comes on and he's, coming with the ball across the field, and Doucouré comes in and makes the challenge, and it's just silly. It's just silly. He leaves a foot in there, studs up, it catches Chambers. And I think it's one of those challenges where if that happens 10 minutes into a game and you've not been yellow carded yet, maybe you get away with that one. But the two cards came within a 5 minute span of each other. It's just absolutely senseless. And these are the worrying things. And we've seen these as Villa fans, haven't we? You know, going back to the days where we were in really bad places. Players just do crazy things in these high pressure situations when you're really not getting the rub of the green. When matches and matches are going by and frustrations are building, players just have these brain fart moments is the best way I can put them. He leaves his foot in there. I did feel for them a little bit because neither of them are like outright nasty challenges. I don't think he's gone out to injure the Villa player in either of them, but they're just a little bit daft. And you know, he goes off and they go down to 10 men. And it's really interesting here because I never really felt like Villa went hell for leather to get that second goal. And maybe we're sort of still healing from the scars of that Arsenal game where maybe we went a little bit too gung-ho at points in that second half. And it really, you know, certainly went 3-2 down. We went a bit too gung-ho with Emi coming all the way up the pitch for that corner. But I just wonder if that's playing into Unai's thought process there, that we didn't go all out for that goal. And look, obviously, you know, Bailey came on and John Duran came on about 85 minutes, which feels a bit like he's sort of getting, you know, to use a basketball term, he's getting the garbage minutes there. He's getting those 5 minutes, which for a young striker like him, it's impossible to really come in and have an impact in that time because you don't get a chance to get up to the speed of the game or anything like that. It really felt like when he first came in, you know, after a couple of games, he was getting some extended minutes. He was sort of getting 25, half an hour, something like that. But he didn't get on at Goodison, I don't believe. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. And he just got the 5 minutes today, which is a bit of a shame because obviously Juan Pablo Angel was in the house and it would have been nice for him to show his compatriot, you know, this Villa legend that welcomed him to the club in that amazing announcement video, what he can do. And he never really got that opportunity, which is a bit of a shame. But hey, we ride our luck. It wasn't the most comfortable 5 minutes we've had at the end of a game, but when is stoppage time ever comfortable at Villa Park? And we get the 3 points, and that's all that matters. And it's a frustrating one because we haven't gone anywhere. You know, we put these back-to-back wins together, and we still sit planted in 11th. Looking at the table now, it's still goal difference that is keeping us behind Chelsea. Chelsea, obviously, you know, not in a great run of form themselves, and we play them in just a few weeks. I mean, our problem being is that, you know, they got a win today against Leeds, which has meant that they stay level on points with us. But we're going into a run of games now which feel really important for how we view this season, obviously. And we've done all that can have been asked of us so far. In the 2 games we've played against Everton and Crystal Palace, which felt winnable after the 2 games prior to that against City and Arsenal, 6 points, 2 clean sheets. You can't ask for much more than that. And then we go into West Ham away, and I mean, they're a difficult team to read at the moment. Obviously, they had a big win last weekend against Forest. They then lost midweek in the Cup to Man United and they've just been thumped 4-0 away to Brighton. So after winning 4-0 at home to Forest last weekend, they've then been on the receiving end of a 4-0. And before we play them, they've got an away trip at AK Larnaca in the Europa Conference League midweek to tackle 2. So obviously it'd be, you know, we'll be seeing Danny Ings again, and hopefully he doesn't come back to haunt us. But that's a game where you feel like Villa can go and get some points. And then you go a little bit further, Bournemouth at home. And I mean, as I said at the top of the pod, they've just been done over in incredible fashion by Arsenal today. And then we have a big game at Stamford Bridge against Chelsea. I mean, that could see us, if everything stays the same over the course of these next couple of weeks, on the 1st of April after the international break. Perhaps that's the game that takes us into the top 10 before we face Leicester and Nottingham Forest. So it's a big few weeks for the Villa, and we're developing a really useful habit of winning games. I keep saying that we're winning games right now by playing in a way that under previous managers, I think we draw and lose games. And Unai is slowly but surely making this a winning outfit, and it'd be really interesting to see where we end up at the end of the season. But it's another Saturday 3 o'clock game. It's another win for the Villa. It's another weekend where we can walk into the office on Monday morning with a bit of a spring in our step, hoping that we can get another couple of wins out the next few games. Wouldn't that be amazing, heading into the international break? And guys like the 2 Emmys go off to Argentina, and it'd be really interesting. Maybe Ollie Watkins, if he can bag another 1, maybe 2 games before the international break, he's going to give Gareth Southgate some real thinking to do on that front as well. So, Villa fans, it's really nice to be sat here talking to you after another win. I'm sure we'll have Dan and I reunited soon. But in the meantime, make sure you check out our new TikTok and our new Instagram feeds. There's a new link tree in the bio, which you can hit there, and it'll take you straight to the Twitter, the Instagram, the TikTok, wherever you want to be to get all of your Villa Filler content. That's the place to be. In the meantime, make sure you give us a like and subscribe here on YouTube. The views have been a little bit slow recently, so hoping as Villa's performances get back into winning ways, back-to-back wins now, you guys can all come back and enjoy some great content here. But in the meantime, have a great weekend. I'm sure we'll see you soon. Up the Villa.